What if one of the greatest achievements in human history never actually happened? What if the grainy black and white footage that captivated hundreds of millions of people around the world was nothing more than an elaborate performance? For more than 50 years, one question has refused to die. Did humans really land on the moon? Even today, millions of people are convinced that the Apollo moon landings were staged. They believe Neil Armstrong never took that famous first step. They believe NASA fooled the entire world. And despite mountains of evidence, the conspiracy refuses to disappear. So why? Why do so many people still doubt one of the most documented events in human history? Today we're diving deep into the moon landing conspiracy, the evidence, the myths, and the surprising reasons why this debate is still alive decades later. July 20th, 1969, the entire world was watching. Television screens flickered as a spacecraft called Apollo 11 descended toward the lunar surface. Inside were two astronauts, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin. Then came the moment that changed history. Armstrong stepped onto the moon and spoke the words that would be remembered forever. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Around 600 million people watched the broadcast. It was one of the largest live audiences ever recorded. The United States had won the space race. Or had it? Almost immediately, some people began asking questions. The timing seemed suspicious. America was deeply involved in the Vietnam War. Trust in government institutions was falling. Many citizens already believed officials were hiding the truth about various issues. In that environment, skepticism grew quickly. Then in the 1970s, a former technical writer named Bill Kaysing published a book claiming that the moon landings had been faked. He offered no hard evidence, but he did offer something powerful: a story. And stories often spread faster than facts. According to Kaysing and later conspiracy theorists, NASA had staged the entire mission inside a secret film studio. The astronauts never left Earth. The footage was fake. The photographs were fake. The moon rocks were fake. The entire world had been fooled. It sounds unbelievable, yet millions of people still believe it. One of the most common claims involves the American flag. If you've seen the famous Apollo photographs, you may have noticed something. The flag appears to be waving. Conspiracy theorists point to this and say, look, there's no air on the moon, no atmosphere, no wind. So why is the flag moving? At first glance, it seems like a good question, but the answer is surprisingly simple. The flag wasn't actually waving. NASA engineers had placed a horizontal support rod across the top of the flag to keep it extended. Without it, the flag would have simply hung limp. The wrinkles created during transportation made it look as if it were blowing in the wind. And when astronauts planted the pole into the lunar soil, the vibrations caused temporary movement, no wind required. Another popular argument focuses on shadows. Critics notice that some shadows in Apollo photographs don't appear parallel. They claim this proves multiple studio lights were used during filming. Again, it sounds convincing, until you understand perspective. Parallel lines can appear to converge or diverge when photographed from certain angles. It's the same optical illusion that makes railroad tracks appear to meet in the distance. Photographers and artists have understood this effect for centuries. The shadows aren't evidence of a studio. They're evidence of how cameras work. Then there's the question of the stars. People often ask, if the astronauts were on the moon, why can't we see stars in the photographs? After all, space is filled with stars. Shouldn't the sky be packed with them? Not necessarily. The lunar surface was brightly illuminated by the sun. To capture astronauts in the landscape correctly, cameras used fast shutter speeds and specific exposure settings. The stars were simply too faint to appear in those conditions. It's exactly why you often can't photograph stars with a smartphone during twilight. The stars are there, the camera just isn't capturing them. Perhaps the most famous challenge involves radiation. Earth is surrounded by regions known as the Van Allen radiation belts. Conspiracy theorists argue that astronauts would have received lethal doses of radiation while passing through them. Therefore, they say, the mission couldn't have happened. But here's what gets left out. The Apollo spacecraft didn't stop inside the belts. They passed through them quickly and followed carefully planned trajectories designed to minimize exposure. The total radiation dose received by Apollo astronauts was well within survivable limits. In fact, it was carefully measured and documented. The danger was real, but it was managed. Just like crossing a busy highway quickly is safer than standing in the middle of it. Then we come to one of the strongest pieces of evidence of all, the moon rocks. Over 6 successful lunar landings, astronauts brought back approximately 382 kilograms of lunar material. Scientists across the world examined these samples, not just NASA scientists. Researchers in Britain, France, Germany, Japan, and many other countries studied them independently. The rocks contain characteristics that cannot be reproduced naturally on Earth. They formed in an environment without water. They show evidence of constant exposure to cosmic radiation. Their chemical composition is unique. For the conspiracy theory to be true, thousands of scientists across dozens of countries would need to be participating in the same cover-up. And somehow, nobody has produced credible evidence of that cover-up in more than half a century. The evidence doesn't stop there. Astronauts left special mirrors on the moon. These mirrors still exist today. Scientists regularly bounce lasers off them to measure the distance between Earth and the moon with incredible precision. The mirrors work because they're there. And in 2009, another major piece of evidence arrived. NASA's Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter photographed every Apollo landing site from orbit. The images revealed landing modules, scientific equipment, and even tracks left behind by astronauts moving across the lunar surface. The footprints are still there. The moon has virtually no atmosphere. There is no wind to erase them. Those tracks may remain visible for millions of years. Yet despite all this evidence, the conspiracy continues. Why? The answer has less to do with science and more to do with psychology. Human beings love mysteries. We love secret knowledge. We enjoy feeling like we've discovered something hidden from everyone else. Conspiracy theories offer that feeling. They make ordinary people feel like insiders, like they've uncovered a truth that the rest of society has missed. The moon landing conspiracy is especially powerful because the event itself feels almost impossible. Think about it. In 1969, computers were less powerful than modern calculators. The internet didn't exist. Smartphones didn't exist. And yet somehow humans traveled nearly 400,000 kilometers through space and landed on another world. To many people, that achievement sounds harder to believe than the conspiracy itself. Then social media entered the picture. Short clips, edited videos, dramatic music, and misleading captions spread faster than detailed scientific explanations. A 20-second conspiracy video can reach millions of viewers before experts even have a chance to respond. And unfortunately, facts often struggle to compete with entertainment. There's also another factor. For younger generations, the moon landing isn't living memory. Most people under 40 never experienced it. Many weren't even alive when the last moon mission took place. As a result, the event can feel distant, abstract, and almost mythical. When something feels disconnected from reality, it's easier to question whether it happened at all. Some celebrities have also contributed to the discussion. Public figures occasionally mention doubts about the moon landings during interviews or podcasts. Whether they genuinely believe the conspiracy or are simply creating conversation, their comments often attract enormous attention. And attention fuels the cycle. The more people talk about a conspiracy, the more visible it becomes. But here's a question conspiracy theorists rarely answer. If the moon landing was fake, how many people would need to keep the secret? Not dozens, not hundreds, hundreds of thousands. Engineers, scientists, technicians, contractors, military personnel, astronauts, foreign observers, government officials, independent researchers, and rival nations like the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union was America's greatest competitor during the space race. If the moon landing had been faked, exposing it would have been one of the greatest propaganda victories in history. Yet even Soviet officials acknowledged that the United States reached the moon. No whistleblowers emerged. No leaked documents revealed a giant deception. No credible evidence ever surfaced. The conspiracy requires an impossible level of silence from an impossible number of people. And that may be the strongest argument against it. The moon landing conspiracy survives not because the evidence supports it. It survives because human nature supports it. People are curious. People are skeptical. People are drawn to extraordinary stories. And few stories are more extraordinary than claiming humanity's greatest journey never happened. But when we step back and examine the evidence, the conclusion becomes clear. The photographs, the videos, the lunar rocks, the mirrors, the spacecraft data, the independent scientific verification, the satellite imagery. Together they tell the same story. On July 20th, 1969, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin really did land on the moon. Humanity crossed an impossible frontier. And whether you see it as a triumph of science, engineering, courage, or imagination, one thing is certain: those footprints are still there. Silent, undisturbed, waiting on the lunar surface as proof that, for a brief moment in history, human beings reached beyond their world and touched another.